Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Xanatin, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today we are continuing with spoiler season. We got a new champion, Shadow Isles champion. I'm a big fan. It's Kindred. So, lots of synergy and stuff. Why should I ramble on too much about it? Let's go and take a look at the cards, why don't we? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna say it right away. A lot of these cards are just a little too big brain for me. But I can think of some ways to use them, which is kind of like Shadow Isles in general. It does a lot of big brain stuff, a lot of forehead mechanics and strategies and synergies, and that's why I like them. So, first card we have Kindred themselves. Kindred is a 5 mana 4/4 with quick attack. Okay, not bad stats and a pretty decent keyword. Quick attack's really nice. The first time you slay a unit, each round, mark the weakest enemy. Round N, kill units with my mark. And to level up, she has to see you slay 2 units with her mark. Now, the one thing I want to know is the mark temporary? It just says mark the weakest enemy. If somehow the round ends and the next round starts and the marked enemy didn't die, is the mark still on the enemy? In other words, what if you hush your own unit that was marked? Will that hush remove the mark and keep the unit safe? I don't know. We'll have to test that out when Kindred actually comes out. Now, leveled up Kindred, pretty much the same thing except the +1/+1, so it's a 5 mana 5/5 with a quick attack. Pretty much the exact same text, except now, whenever you slay a unit, you get +2/+2. Kindred herself gets +2/+2. So that's good. So that means if you have a leveled up Kindred on board, even if it's a non-leveled up Kindred on board, it's still good. But if you have a leveled up Kindred on board, you can use something like Glimpse Beyond, kill one of your units, draw 2 cards, activate Slay to mark a weak unit on their side, and give Kindred +2/+2. And sure, of course, Hush makes all these kind of buffs and stuff a little bit worse, but Kindred's base stat line is still 5/5 for a leveled up Kindred, of course. That's okay. A 5/5 can survive a lot of things, so I think this card's kind of good. There's a lot of stuff people are thinking about Kindred. Some people are thinking just mono Kindred with Undying, Kindred Nasus. I personally am thinking Kindred Karma because control is what I live and breathe, and I love Karma, and I want to try to make Karma work. So I'm going to try Kindred Karma with a lot of stuff. I don't know. I like Kindred, though. I think she might be a little too clunky, but I think she's good. The 4/4 stat line is solid. Not great, but it dodges a lot of removal that's problematic and popular. So unless you attack in poorly and you don't have a way to protect your Kindred from a combat trick or whatever, pretty good, in my opinion. Especially if you can activate her Slay right away on turn 5 when you play her. Next up, Kindred Spirit Journey, the champion spell for Kindred. 5 mana, fast spell. Kill a unit, then revive it. I mean, like, that's just kind of my reaction, just Like, yes, you can hit enemy units with this, so you can soar. It's kind of like a 5 mana stun if you do that. Like, I assume by killing and reviving a unit, it's kind of like Chronicler, the 4 mana 3/3. And it will lose the buff. So if your unit was buffed, it will lose its buff. Like, let's say it was blessed by Sunblessed Vigor and had +0/+2. It'll lose that +0/+2 when it gets revived. Now, yes, there is some synergy. This can activate Slay. It can activate Last Breath and summon abilities. And in a pinch, you can use it to pseudo-stun an enemy unit. I wouldn't personally put this card in my deck. I think, again, it's just a little too expensive by 1 mana. It feels to me like it is Will of Ionia, but a little harder to use. But with a little more versatility and a little stronger if you build around it, if that makes sense? I don't know. I'm thinking of it of using it as like a bad stun. And in that case, of course, I'd rather have Will, but this you can use it to kill your own stuff, I guess. Pseudo heal your stuff. If something's damaged, you can kill it to resummon it to heal it. I don't know. Maybe I would play this as a one of index, but I really just think this kind of ability and effect at 5 mana, especially at slow or fast speed, is just too much, too slow, too expensive. It is nice it's fast speed though, so that's good. So you can use it in combat, so that's nice, and you can use it in response to removal. But I just am not a fan of this spell. Next card, though. I'm a big fan of this next card. We got Fading Icon. 2 mana, 3/1. When I'm summoned, summon a Prey. Prey is a 0 mana, 0/1. Pretty much here as a slay fodder, sacrifice fodder, whatever you want to call it. I like it. Very big fan of this card. Not like really flashy, not kind of like this is going to be the OP kind of card of the set, but this is a solid player in this kind of deck, I think, if this deck is going to be real. You're going to play it, it gets you on board. Cool. Sure, the one health stat line on both the icon and the prey is a little mediocre, and it plays into Withering Wail and I guess Avalanche. That's fine, I think. It helps you out against aggro because the icon trades well, and the prey is pretty much just here to die, in all honesty. So I like it. Big fan. I don't really think there's much to say about it. Like, yeah, there's not really much. And in a pinch, I guess you can use prey as a chump blocker too. It's not like certain cards where they can't block, like these certain small cards that just can't block. Kind of like Powder, which if Powder could block, that would be funny, but it's nice. And you could technically attack in with prey too, if you want, which you could to try and bait your opponent into blocking prey, but why would your opponent ever block prey? I guess if they're like 1 health and they're playing around a combat trick. But next up, next card. This card, I have no idea what to think about the next card. Lamb's Respite. 2 mana. Slow spell. Give the weakest ally, I can't take damage or die this round. I have no idea how to use this card. I've seen the combo. The combo is out of the way, so it's technically permanent. Out of the way is the 5 mana card that says the buffs are permanent, basically, except for Barrier, I believe. And it draws 1, of course, too. So if you use this, plus out of the way, I get it, but that's 2 mediocre cards for a kind of meh effect. The other combo, of course, is like use Lamb's Respite, and then use whatever was respited as the sacrifice fodder, because just because it can't die doesn't mean you can't glimpse it. Unyielding Spirit is pretty much the same thing as this, except you can target, of course. And if something is buffed by Unyielding Spirit, or I guess Tarek's ability to his leveled up ability to not die, you can Unyielding Spirit it and just draw 2, and it will not die. So that's a thing. So you could use like Lamb's Respite, Spirit Journey, Glimpse, and other such ways to kill stuff to get a little bit of value. But then you're playing Lamb's Respite. And my issue with Lamb's Respite is by itself, it is a junk card. It is garbage. If it was fast speed, sure, this card would actually be kind of decent at fast speed. At slow speed, you can't even use it as a pseudo combat trick. So you could like chump block with your small weak enemy against their big enemy and play Lamb's Respite so your small boy doesn't die when chumping the big boy. That would actually make this card, in my opinion, playable. Maybe this card is playable, in my opinion. I just don't think it. I think this is a clunky combo card that people are going to think of all kinds of crazy combos for, and they're going to fail. Now, I will say it is 2 mana, so it's a cheap card, so the potential to break the card is there with mana discounts, of course, so I will admit that, but as it stands now, I just don't see the potential. This is one of those cards I was mentioning before, just too big brain for me, can't think of anything for it, but who knows, maybe it will be good. I don't think it's good. Speaking of cards I don't think are good, next up, Song of the Isles. Everyone's favorite cousin of Mark of the Isles. Song of the Isles is a 2-mana burst spell. Grant an ally lifesteal, fearsome, and ephemeral. Now there's the combo with Lands Respite out of the way. Use out of the way, give the unit can't die or take damage with Lands Respite. It's permanent thanks to out of the way. Then you can give it Song of the Isles to give it lifesteal and fearsome. Technically, even though it has ephemeral, it won't die because of Lands Respite. That's cute, but again, that's a very clunky combo. That's a 3-card combo. Do you want to do all that? Now, the other thing you could do is Song of the Isles Death Mark, which is not bad, but you could also kind of do that with I believe the card was Scourge of whatever or something Scourge, the 3-mana 5/5 with lifesteal and ephemeral. You could kind of do that with Death Mark as well. So the problem with trying to do Death Mark is if you don't have Death Mark in your hand or you just don't draw Death Mark, all these ephemeral cards and ephemeral synergies kind of suck. So I don't really see how Song of the Isles is supposed to be played. The next upcoming card we'll talk about soon has some synergy with it, but even that I don't think is good enough. Not a fan of Song of the Isles. Really think it's kind of garbage in all honesty, and it's only going to be an expedition, but maybe there's some weird combo, some 2-card combo I'm not thinking of that is powerful enough that's good enough. But my issue is, even as a combat trick, this card's kind of meh. You're pretty much not giving any stats and only giving lifesteal. Sure, you can say you're giving fearsome too, but in combat, fearsome's not really that important if you use it in response to a block or whatever. So it's not good standalone. It needs other cards to be good, is my opinion. But again, who knows? Maybe there's some kind of cool combo that I can't think of. But next card might help it out. Then I talked about this a little bit. Mask Mother, 2-mana 2/2, fearsome. Okay. Decent stats. 2-mana 2/2s are a little understated, but fearsome's nice. So what does it do? Play. Kill an ally to grant me its stats and keywords. Okay. Okay. Sounds pretty good, right? So the combo is like Song of the Isles something, play Mask Mother. The Mask Mother will get the stats, and it will have lifesteal and fearsome. And everyone is assuming negative keywords like ephemeral are not passed on because we're assuming keywords are set in the game a certain way. So when it's things like this where it's keyword transfer or whatever, it only gives positive ones. Because if this card transferred negative keywords like ephemeral, that would be a garbage card. It's kind of how, like, think of Victor. Victor cannot get negative keywords. In other words, Victor cannot roll ephemeral. If he could, he'd be even worse than he already is, and he's kind of bad right now. I just don't know how to play this card. Like, I guess, like, the obvious one before anyone says it is Undying. Yes, you use this. You kill the Undying. The Undying comes back bigger. The Mask Mother gets the plus whatever stats the Undying was. So that's cool. I don't think that's good enough. Undying decks don't really have a problem killing their Undyings, so I don't know. Undying decks' problems are just getting overrun because the Undyings can't block and actually drawing the Undyings. And Hush is a thing. I always say Hush is a thing when talking about all these fun decks, but that's because Hush is kind of the fun police for a lot of decks. So yeah, maybe there is going to be something in the future that will make Mask Mother good. I don't see it. I've had some people tell me you're thinking too hard with Mask Mother, and they're saying how Mask Mother is better to be used as a way to kill an early game minion in the late game when that early game minion's not really getting much value anymore. I kind of agree. I can see that. Like, You're in the late game and you have a hapless aristocrat on the field, and it's like, oh, well, this guy's not really doing much. He's just a chump blocker. That's it. Play Mask Mother. That's not great, though, in my opinion. It's like, okay, I have a 2-mana 3/3 with Fearsome. I guess if you have like an elusive that's small, sure, giving this thing elusive would be nice, but it's a little tough. You could play like the Stella Corn, the 1/2 with Lifesteal and Spell Shield to give this thing Lifesteal and Spell Shield. That's kind of cute. But I just don't see it. I just don't think this thing's good enough. I think it's too clunky. I don't think there's anything good that combos well with it. So I'm not seeing it. Next card, Unto Dusk. This card I think is good. Not OP, but I could actually be wrong. This thing could be bad, or it could even be OP. 2-mana burst speed, draw 1. And that line of text there is exactly why I think it's good. 2-mana burst speed, draw 1 is already pretty solid, as evidenced by Pale Cascade and Guiding Touch. And of course, this card has more text. Nightfall. Activate an ally's Nightfall effect, ignoring any targeted portions. That's pretty good. I think that's a really good thing. First off, a lot of Nightfall cards have some really good Nightfall that they would love to activate numerous times. People are thinking like Doom Beast, Nocturne, but then you're playing Nocturne. Eclipse Dragon is a pretty good one. This kind of turns into a draw 3 if you Nightfall it onto an Eclipse Dragon. That's kind of cool. Like, sure, it's not drawing from the deck, except for the Unto Dusk. The other 2 cards are not really being drawn from your deck, is what I mean. Still, though, I think if there is a good enough amount of Nightfall that you want to play, I would see this card as a 2 of, maybe even a 3 of. I don't think it would be a 3 of. It's still at its worst a 2-mana draw 1, and it technically itself is a Nightfall activator because it's a burst speed spell that's relatively cheap, and it helps activate Nightfall for you, so that's kind of nice too, and it replaces itself at the very worst, so that's why I think this card is actually pretty solid. You can technically use it with a Felios too, so that's kind of cool as well. So I think this card's great. I think it's one of the more powerful ones here. Now the next one, Spirit Leech. I like this card. I really, really like this card. Some people are telling me I'm crazy here. I could be crazy here. 4 mana, 4/1. And that's why they're telling me I'm crazy. It's a 4/1 for 4. But play. Kill an ally to draw 2. That is a Glimpse Beyond at slow speed, which is bad, but it comes with a 4/1 body. And this is a play ability that's not a skill, so it can't be countered. So you can't remove whatever's getting leeched. You can't deny the leech playability. I think that's crazy good. And here's the other thing. It slays. By killing your ally to draw 2, that activates Slay if you have any Slay synergy. And, well, look up there right at the very beginning. Kindred. Kindred with Spirit Leech. Seems great. Kindred seems more of a mid-rangey kind of deck. Maybe a control deck with the right cards with Karma, which is what I'm going to try and do. Spirit Leech will let you mark something. It'll draw you some cards. Fading Icon gives you something to kill with the prey there. Seems really nice to me. I love this card. Now, granted, maybe I'm overreacting because it says draw, and I love cards that say draw some cards. Because, yes, it is really, really, really bad stats for the cost. Like, what is that? 5 total stats for a 4-drop? 5 total stats is usually what you're expecting for a 2-drop, like 2 mana 3/2s, 2 mana 2/3s. Like, sure, there is a 1 mana 4/1 in the form of the Charger, but that's a Celestial, and Celestials are usually really good for their cost anyway, so we kind of ignore that. Still, though, I love this card. Besides Kindred, probably my favorite card of these cards here. I really like Kindred, though. Kindred's my favorite of these cards. Spirit Leech, though, draws cards. How can I not like it? And the last card, I think it's terrible. I think it's an absolutely garbage card. The Aether Fiend, or Ether Fiend, however you want to pronounce this. 7 mana, 6/4 with Fearsome. Okay. 7-drop with a bad stat line and a keyword that's not bad, but not great in the late game. Play. Kill an ally to kill an enemy. Okay, it's a decent ability, a decent skill, a decent playability, whatever you want to call it. Unlike Spirit Leech, though, this one's an actual skill. So you or your opponent, depending on who's playing this card, can respond to it. They can either, I'd assume it's working similar to Crumble, where if whatever is being targeted, if you play this and your opponent kills the allied unit that's being killed to kill an enemy, I assume the skill would fizzle. Like I said, just like Crumble does. So, I don't know. Plus, your opponent could also respond to this ability with things like Glimpse Beyond, of course, so I don't like it. Plus, it's a really expensive card. For me, when it comes to cards, I've talked about this before, any card that costs 6 or more mana either needs to do one of two things: win the game or put you really close to winning the game. Think things like 6 mana Cytheria, Captain Farron, um, old Riptide Rex before he got nerfed, stuff like that. I guess Aurelion Soul as well. Or they need to do the opposite and bring you back and keep you from losing the game, in other words. Bring you back from a big deficit in terms of value. Think things like Ruination. Of course, there are definitely exceptions to this little rule I use. Things like Vengeance are played. Things like Augmented Experimenter. But that's because those things have value, or they're just necessary evils, even though you might not like them. Like, Vengeance is kind of mediocre, but you still play Vengeance, because there's nothing really better when you just need a, oh no, I need to kill something card. This card is not that. This card doesn't really bring you back if you're behind, if you're in a deficit. Sure, it kills something, but it also clears something from your side of the board, so it's not great. Sure, if you have something like a Prey or something that wants to die, cool. And if you have Kindred or other Slay synergy cards, this activates Slay, so that's nice. But the card itself, as well, is not great in terms of stats. It dies really easily, and I just don't like it. Great in Expedition, though. But I mostly look at cards in Constructed because I don't play too much Expedition. So yeah, that's it. Really fun cards, though. Some of them I think are bad, like Lamb's Respite and Aether Fiend and Song of the Isles. Some of them I think are great, like Spirit Leech, Fading Icon, and Kindred herself. Kindred, in my opinion, is probably my favorite champion we've seen so far, and probably the day one craft for me. Not because I think she's good, but because she seems like fun, and I play decks that I think are fun first, and then meta relevant second. Because fun is what matters most. Am I right, or am I right? Anyway, though, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any ideas for how to build Kindred, I would love to hear them, because I'm trying to build them myself, and I would love some more ideas to try and steal them. Smile. Anyway, though, if you just enjoyed the video as well, of course, it would mean a lot to me if you could just leave a like or a comment down below. It always helps me out. If you guys want to keep up with the content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel to keep up with the content. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always go and check me out on Twitch TV. I stream there pretty much every day at twitch.tv/Senaton. Pretty much playing all kinds of decks, in all honesty. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And so I see you guys in the next one. Bye!